Welcome to the Rise to Shine podcast with Noelle Custis, where we ignite the spark to discover your favorite self. It is time to get real, ladies. Hey there, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Rise to Shine podcast. I'm your host, Noelle Custis, and today we have a very special Mother's Day edition episode. We are going to be celebrating the remarkable bond between moms and daughters spanning 4 generations of love, wisdom, resilience, and a whole lot of grace between all of us. As I sit here preparing to really take on this personal journey with you, I'm kind of overcome with emotion. As a matter of fact, before we all got on to record, we had already started to shed some tears. So excuse us. If we do, you'll see that we are a family that wears our heart on our sleeves. But you're also going to see that family has always been at the heart of everything I do. From the unwavering support of my grandmother to the inspiration of my mom, and then, of course, all of the hope and radiance embodied by my daughter. Each woman in my life has left a really lasting mark on my soul, and that is why I wanted to do this episode. So you might be wondering why we're gathering here today. We're really here to share our stories in a world that I feel like often moves so fast, where connections can feel brief and moments slip away very quickly. I really just wanted to create a space where we could pause and reflect and honor the extraordinary women who have shaped us. So, what better time to do that than Mother's Day? So I thought this would be a great episode around Mother's Day, dedicated to celebrating the guiding lights who have really illuminated our paths with lots of love, lots of support. And I want to make sure that before we get started, I took a moment to honor all of the varied paths that we've walked and the different forms of guidance and support that we've received along the way. Because the reality is some of us may have cherished relationships with our moms. Others, it may have been guided by mentors or friends or other influential women who have shaped our journeys. So this is really an episode to celebrate all of these incredible women who have loved us unconditionally. They've inspired us to nurture, and they've supported, uplifted one another regardless of our blood ties. So their influence and wisdom and love remind us that motherhood actually transcends biology, and that each of us has the power to be a source of light and inspiration in someone else's life. You just never know. So join me today as we embark on a journey sharing stories and insights from cherished memories of childhood to the hopes and dreams for the future. We're going to talk about it all today. We're going to talk about what it means to be a woman, a mother, a daughter, a grandmother, and even a great grandmother. So without further ado, let's dive in. I am going to ask some questions, but who knows where this is going to lead us? Because when you get the 4 of us together, you have no idea where the conversation is going to go. And we just love to organically have a fun and open conversation. So the first person that I'm going to introduce you to is my 92. Now we're all not ashamed to share our ages. Just want to let you know that. This is my 92-year-old young, I should say 92 years young, Glam Gram is what I like to call her, Mary Ellen, but also known as Gigi. And I am so excited. You're also going to be meeting my beautiful mom. She is 70 years young. Her name is Jan. And then you're going to meet my gorgeous daughter. Of course, I am definitely biased with that. But my really very young, just turned 22-year-old Alexa. So how is everyone feeling today?
Tired but good.
Alexa's a little tired today. For those of you that don't know, we live about a half a mile away from all of the festivals, Coachella, Stagecoach, and Alexa happens to get to go to all of them because she's got some great connections. We'll just say that. So she's been at lots of festivals in the last 3 weeks. So she lost her
Yeah.
voice a little bit, but she is here. She's rocking it. I'm so excited that she's here. And just to let you know, she's also graduating college in like 5 days. It's absolutely crazy. We're getting so excited about that. So, we're just happy that she took the time to hang out with us because that's not always what a 22-year-old wants to do. So,
I
can you
definitely
guys
don't mind it.
yes, don't
Don't
mind
mind
it.
hanging with you guys.
Yes, absolutely. And she's always gracious about that, truly. But can you believe that we're all here sitting here doing this thing together?
No.
No, this is awesome.
It honestly is such a dream come true for me. Part of the reason why there were some tears shed earlier is because my grandma Gigi was just kind of got a little teary because she said, "I just can't believe that I'm here to witness my great granddaughter graduate college." And I think that is what is so cool, and that's why I did not want this moment to get away, that we talked about doing something but never actually did it. And you're going to learn very quickly that I am the talker of the group. My daughter is too, but my grandma and my mom, like getting on camera, doing this whole thing is not really their jam. So they're working out their nerves. We're all just, we're all just in it. I kind of threw them in the trenches with this one, but we're all really excited. So
I was gonna say, Gigi, when we were talking about you just, you know, being so happy that you're still here and you're here for my graduation. Remember on my 18th birthday when you gave me that letter, fully acting like I would have never met you before. And I was reading it and you're sitting right in front of me and you're like, "I'm so sorry I missed your 18th birthday and I wish I could be there for your graduation." And I'm looking at you and I'm like, "You are, Gigi, you're right here." That was just a fake letter to me. I was like, "This is crazy." And 4 years later, like still, if you gave me that letter, I'd still be like, "You're still kicking it with us, Gigi. You're still kicking it
I
with
know.
us."
But when I wrote that letter, I really didn't think I'd be here. Life expectancy for women in my family is about 60. So I really thought that was going to be it. And here I am, 92, and it's going strong.
God knew. He was like, "You're gonna stay there for way too long until the point where you kind of get annoyed."
that is so true. And what she's referring to is we had done a time capsule for Alexa when she was born. She was, so all of the family was so excited for her. And we all did a time capsule. And my grandma had written a letter to her, and we opened it on her graduation day in 2020. And, again, she was prefacing that she didn't think, she wrote it as if she didn't get to see her graduation. So it's so cool. It makes it extra special that here we are 5 days away from college graduation and Gigi is still hanging with us, and even on a podcast. Like, we'll
Yeah.
get into that in a little bit, but Grandma,
If I
let's
live through this, it will be wonderful.
yeah, she's a little nervous. She said, "If I live through this is going to be wonderful." Okay, well, Graham, I'm going to start with you. So, a little background on her. Let me just give you the context. Again, she's 92 years young. She is the matriarch of our family. We call her Gigi, as you can see. She rules the roost. She was married for 41 years, and we had lost my grandpa when I was 18 years old. So it's been quite some time, but they were married for 41 years. Some fun facts about my grandma is she does get her hair done every week. And that has been going
Religiously.
on, yes, religiously. And that has been going on since she was a teenager. We're all just in awe of that. She loves to play poker every Thursday with her girlfriends. She plays bingo on Fridays, and at least once a week, she goes to the casino with my mom to have lunch and plays the nickel slot machines. She definitely has way more luck than the rest of us combined. Um, And she loves jewelry, which we have in common. And she always says the bigger the better. She loves the Young and the Restless soap opera. I feel like as long as I've been around, she's been watching that. She's a major movie buff, and she loves going out to the pool every day to do her exercises. So she's really just always been, someone that has been active. I really believe that that's why she's still around. And I can't forget to say that she is an amazing baker, and she loves Christmas just as much as I do. For those of you that listen to the episode about joy, you will remember that I had mentioned that my son and my grandma were cut from the same cloth for sure when it comes to the holidays. So I can clearly go on, but grandma, with all of that being said, um, as someone who has lived through many decades, what are some of the most significant changes that you've witnessed in the world today?
Oh, Noel, there's been so many changes. Um, just about everything has changed. Now we're talking about women, and I'll say women are more vocal. They're holding better jobs than they did when I was young. Um, Cell phones have come into play, which I'm sort of against, but,
Uh-huh.
but they're here to stay. We've got computers, TV.
Yeah.
I didn't have TV when I was a kid. In fact, the first time I saw TV was in 1947, 48, and we watched the Rose Bowl parade on a camera that was like the size of a dish, and we all gathered around to watch that in black and white. That was my first experience with TV. So
Mm,
you can see how it's come now. And look at the cars. My
yeah.
goodness. I can't, I don't even know what the buttons, half of them are on my car. I do good to just get it started
Gigi,
and drive.
there's even
So,
electric bikes and scooters now.
I
There's
know,
not
I
even regular
know.
bikes.
But everything has changed. But it used to be women were in the background. We
Yeah.
never held important jobs. There were a few, but most babysitting, that type of thing. But now
Right.
women are equal to men and hold those type of jobs. So
Yeah, no, that's such a great point. And I mean, just think of this, Grandma, and I know that I have talked about this on a previous podcast, is that, you have been such an inspiration in my life, and you had recalled a dream that you had about me speaking to lots of people, and you said, I just see you. I've had a dream about it on stages, and you've said, that I was going to do that. And one thing that I thought was interesting is when I started this podcast, I thought about, wow, we didn't even know podcasts were going to exist, let alone me having one. So here we are having a conversation like this in the context of a podcast. What does that feel like to you? I mean, what does it feel like to be a part of something like that?
it, I don't know. It's just too much for me. I, everything goes so fast. I'm
Oh,
just not used to all these fandangled things. So
yeah.
it's just different.
Yeah,
Different. Yeah.
definitely.
I just can't get used to a lot of the changes.
Right. And I think that's why, like, even going back to the cell phone for you, you were fine when it was just a cell phone where it was just our,
The little
open
flip
it
top.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little flip phone. But now that it's become something where it's literally having a computer in your hands,
Right.
I know it's almost frustrating for you sometimes because you'd rather keep it simple. Is
Yeah.
that, would that be the right way to put that?
Right. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. But I get sort of upset when, uh, say, when you go out to dinner and you look around, everybody's on a cell phone. They're not talking to one another. Everyone gathers, they've got cell phones going. We gather, we talk.
Yeah.
You don't need that darn cell phone. If you want to
Right.
talk on a telephone. So,
Mhm.
So
but that's,
true.
I'm old and set in my ways. I'm
But
sorry.
and even like at restaurants, you even see like little young, like young kids like on phones. And I know
Oh,
mom too. I've been at lunch with you and we're like, no way that 5-year-old has his own iPhone
I
right now.
know.
That's crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that even for me, like I feel like I've grown up in a weird generation where like the first 10 years of my life, I literally just had a flip phone.
Mhm.
Like just watching you have a flip phone.
Yeah, I was
And
gonna
then
say you didn't have a flip
next,
phone.
no,
Let's say that.
my first phone was the flip up with a little keypad, you remember? I was like,
Mhm.
that was the iPhone. And then I didn't even get my first iPhone till later, but having like the difference, even for me, I can look around and I'm like, oh, this is kind of weird. I don't know why we're normalizing, having our heads in
I
technology
know.
all the time.
I know.
Well,
I
you know what I'm going to do is, Alexa, I'm going to move to you then, because I think this is a perfect time to ask you a question, but I want to give everybody the context of who you are, so that way everybody gets their little introduction. So you are definitely my precious, free-spirited, strong-willed child. Grandma's going, "Yep, this
Love it.
girl had me. She had me from the moment I was pregnant. I mean, I read books to her in the womb. I rocked in my rocking chair and sang songs to her before she was even born. I literally dreamt of her and spoiled her before she was with us here on earth. And I would get now, this is a funny story. I think I've told you this before, Alexa, but my mom can concur. I would literally get your baby diapers out because I had everything organized in your room already, like all your clothes, everything was organized. And I would get out these little baby diapers and I would pretend like I was holding you and I would pat
know.
your little diaper and I would just like be like, oh my gosh, when she gets here,
You're
it's going to
crazy,
be
mom.
like this. So to say I was obsessed about being a mom was probably an understatement, but you also have reminded me that through life that um you know, even at the beginning, before you were born, you reminded me very quickly, and you still remind me that it's not always going to be all rainbows. And I seriously had the worst morning sickness every single day for over 6 months. I was so sick. She was my challenging baby. She was
Oh, I'm so
colicky.
sorry.
It's okay. I always say it's okay because it all works out. This is what I tell every mom. Your nickname was actually Swiggy because she literally never stopped moving. She rarely slept, struggled with nursing. This poor baby was just annoyed with so much because her poor little tummy and intestines were tweaked. But my pediatrician never believed me until she was like a year old and she was only about 15 pounds. And he finally goes, well, maybe it's time to get her tested. But that's a whole nother story. I'll tell another time, but so annoying. Um, However, once we got all of that figured out, she was the best and easiest child in the world. She was adorable, sweet, funny. And as the years have gone on, she is definitely not afraid to speak her mind. Like I said, she's a free spirit and she has massive boundaries in relationships, which I love. She loves hard if you're lucky enough to be in her circle because she definitely protects that. And believe me, if you are one of the people that she loves, you are going to feel all of that because
Mhm.
she's so passionate. She's artistic, a music lover, loyal to the core, hilarious, and one of my favorite humans on the planet. So, Alexa, the reason why I wanted to go to you and ask you a couple questions, I should say, is because I feel like it's so great to layer this between generations because clearly there's a nice age gap between you and Gigi. But my question would be, um, what how has your relationship with me, your grandma, and great grandma, how has that influenced who you are today?
I mean, I feel like because you and Gigi are very similar and I'm very similar with Grandma Jan, getting all different perspectives from you guys, like that's why even before we started recording, I was like, I when we all go out to coffee or when we're over at Gigi's baking or whatever it may be, if there's something that comes up, I get such different answers from all of you, but all of them I take and I consider because all three of you have such good wisdom to tell. And also I trust each of you not only as just like women, but also as like my family. Because like when I think of like my mom, of course, like my mom, but when I really think about it, it's like all three of you guys combined. That's
Mm,
how I was raised. I was raised in a household with all of you guys. I think like, and I think that's honestly the reason why I am so free spirited but very strong willed is
mm,
because I grew up in a house full of women that are more like that and more, in the best ways. So it almost doesn't feel different to me. And sometimes I even go in other people's households now that I'm older and I've um, you know, been learning about family dynamics and all this stuff with psychology. I can tell that now that I'm older, I'm so thankful to have grown up in a household with more women than men and also like was raised by women more than men. And that is not a bad thing because like we have so much wisdom to give because Gigi has grown up in so many different decades of standing of where women are and if they're in the workplace or if they're in home. And then obviously, grandma, you've seen the same thing and so much
right.
more. And you faced your own stuff. And then mom, I mean, you're starting your own pot like a million different things. So I think each of you have given like me such a plate full of advice without even thinking you have. So it's
that's
been, you know,
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love how you talked about how you've like embodied all three of us
yeah,
as these influential women in your life to help shape you. So, my next question would be I know you're young, you're 22 and you're still, figuring it out and learning as you go, but what does being a woman mean to you in today's world? What is that for you?
that's such like a big question to ask because
It
like when you start thinking about it, you're like, okay, what do I like as a woman myself, what do I want to carry and hold throughout my days? Like, what is it?
Mhm.
But I guess like no matter, I don't, I guess my biggest answer to that was honestly just being like courageous and smart. I don't even think like any aspect of physicalness needs to come to it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that probably has changed and
Mm,
probably needs to keep changing is like women are not defined by how they look or their features because that honestly has been the definition of what's woman. Oh, they have this body or they have this makeup or they have this long of hair. When you really think about it, a woman is brave, that we're smart, we hold the foundation of actually the whole entire world when you think about it. Without women, oh my goodness, I don't even know how the world would run. And I'm not saying men are useless, but I'm saying pretty strongly women
Right.
make the world function in ways that without us there would be it would be very gray and weird because we're so women also too, you said it too, mom, like in a way, sometimes we feel very mushy with like how many emotions we feel or going a million miles per hour because most women have a lot of things on their shoulders,
mhm.
but it almost allows so much more creativity, so much more beautiful things to happen out of it, so many more relationships. Like, I think, I don't know, when I think of women, I think of just like almost everything beautiful in the world and strong, you
I love
know?
that. And I feel like what that reminds me of a little bit is that perhaps, perhaps we're wired to be a little bit more vulnerable in our lives as well. And when we're more vulnerable, that transparency comes out. And that's where we can, like what I had said at the beginning, we wear our hearts on our sleeve. Maybe that's a little bit more so than how a man is built or wired.
Yeah,
There's so many conversations. I mean,
and
yeah.
yeah, and also too, we've always been put in a position to have to fight for ourselves and defend for ourselves, even if it's not even for a bad thing. We as women are always in a position to make sure we're safe. We're standing up for ourselves. We have to be vocal because if we don't, we will be put in a position that we don't want to be. So I
Mm,
feel like that in itself just shows that women are so strong without even thinking that we are. Like
yeah.
we are so much more than we think we are. And that's in a way, it's kind of cool to see how far not in a way, it is actually amazing to see how far we've come and just like the positions that we're stepping into. And like Gigi said too, the voices that are being heard now.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, and in this day and age, as we know, and not that we're going to get into all of that, because I certainly am not a political I'm not a political podcast by any means, but we just know that there's a lot of changes happening, and there's a lot of controversy, and how things are going as far as men and women and all of the things. And I just think those are such valid points that really there it's such a beautiful world, because we have, obviously we have men and women, and but women bring, I feel like, something very special to the table,
oh
and
yeah.
I love that. So I'm gonna come back, because I'm gonna be asking
I
lots of
also
questions.
wait, I have
Oh,
one
sure,
more thing to say. I
sure.
was gonna say this kind of reminds me because I was talking with my roommates the other day because
Uh-huh.
we were sitting at the park and we were just like hanging out. We brought our hammocks out there, but we saw this group of girls walking. They were on like their little like sunset walk. They were all
Mhm.
like giggling. They're probably our age. And Anna looked at us and she was like, "I just love women." And I was like, that is so real because we carry such light and such beauty to us, and that doesn't even mean physical.
Mhm.
Even at our worst times, women will always find a way to uplift each other, to make sure like everyone's feeling loved. Like there's just so many things that we bring to the table that we don't even recognize ourselves. When you look at it, it's just so nice to be like, and the community that we bring to each other. I feel like also too, like it's very rare for a woman to tear another woman down. Yeah, there's some,
Say yes,
there's some, but
it
You
still
can sure
happens.
tell
for the
she takes
most
after
part,
you, Noelle.
yeah.
She loves to
For the
talk.
most, I know, for the most part though, like you will always have a community with other women. Like you will
Right.
always feel connected with them.
Yeah.
Always.
And yeah, and as you go through life, you go through even seasons of friendships and different things, and really what's happening is you are finding your tribe, you're finding your people. And I do believe that God brings in different people in our lives, different men, women, friends, different people in our lives for different seasons. And I have definitely noticed, like I had mentioned about you, Alexa, that you used to have a ton of friends, and I mean, and same with me, like a ton of friends, but there's something about that core tribe, that core group of women that you just know get you, and you can just be completely yourselves, but you can love and admire women in
Absolutely.
general for who they are. But there are just, those certain connections that you can make with women that are really, really special.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So, mom, I'm going to go to you, and I'll give you a little context about my mom. They have not heard any of this. This is just like what I feel about them. So, to share a little bit about my mom, she's definitely one of my best friends. We talk almost every single day, and we only live about 10 miles away from each other. As a matter of fact, my grandma and my mom only live like a few houses away from each other. So, that tells you how close we are. But our husbands just know that this is who we are. And I think that the rest of the family knows that this is just what we do. So leave us alone. We're going to talk on the phone, even if we've talked to each other 5 other times throughout the day. And I have actually, mom, you'll get a kick out of this, because I was thinking about it and I thought, just recently I've been sending her a ton of memes. See, that's the fun part of technology, is like we can sit and laugh at these things, but I've been sending her all these memes of moms and daughters, and about how we have to talk about everything we do. Or if we're in the car, it's a must to call each other, because it's like, okay, it's clockwork. It's like, okay, we've got 5 more minutes. I can call my mom really fast. So one of the things that I love about my mom and I is that we're so different, but we're also so alike. So we both for sure have the same empathy for people. We cry at everything, happy or sad. I think that's all of us. We're pretty, maybe Alexa might not quite be as much
I
of a
I
crier.
want to, but I will hold it back. I don't
Yeah,
want to. Yeah,
a little
I
bit.
want to
She's a little
cry.
bit
Give yourself.
more of a boundary, but wait till you. It's always wait till you have kids, then we'll see how that goes for
Yeah.
you. But we do cry at everything, happy or sad. We love being moms more than anything. We are great listeners. We love the same music. We love yacht rock, all the classics from the 60s and 70s. My daughter's even gotten on that bandwagon. That's where my grandma will be like, yeah, no, I'm good. So that's where Grandma Gigi kind of moves out of that way. But we also love current music. And as a matter of fact, during Coachella, my mom and I were texting each other, geeking out on No Doubt. And so we have the love for that. But we also love singers like Adele, even Billie Eilish. I mean, we definitely can cross, even with those age gaps, like we can cross that with each other, which I love. We love our coffee. Don't mess with us and our coffee. We love the beach. However, there are lots of differences too. So our style is very different. She's way more simple, and I am way more the sparkle girl. This is why we always say my daughter and my mom are a lot alike, and then my grandma and I are a lot alike. I am way more into girly things. She loves blue. I love pink. But I tell you what, she is my biggest cheerleader and she is my biggest fan. She supports me with all of my crazy ideas because I do have a lot of them. She empowers me to live life to the fullest, and she's seriously amazing. She's seriously amazing. As a matter of fact, I think, if I recall, most of my friends and those of you out there listening would have considered her their second mom for sure. Even my brother's friends, some of them will still call her mom. So she just had a way of being there for everyone growing up, which definitely inspired me. So, Mom, here we go. Reflecting on your journey as a mom and a grandma, what moments stand out to you as the most meaningful or memorable moments?
I really thought about that a lot. There's millions. I mean, there's so much. But you actually mentioned it earlier. Um, One thing that was really important to me when I had kids was rocking them in a rocking chair.
Mm,
I get choked up just thinking about it because I actually gave you and I gave Rob when you guys, well, he wasn't pregnant, but when his wife Heather was pregnant, that was my thing. I said, I'm getting you
good.
guys rocking chairs because it's so important. And I rocked you kids every single day, every day, talking to you and just having that bond. And I did that with my grandchildren too. I couldn't do it with Rob's kids that often because they live so far away. But with Alexa and Ryan, every time I was over there, I didn't care what was going on. I took them and went in and rocked them. But
Yeah.
I think that is so important to have that bond, and plus I'd always tell the kids little things too when
Whisper to them like, you love your grandma Jan,
yeah,
don't you?
I did
So,
I did that. But I guess I'm just so proud of the grandkids and my kids, all of them, because I never went to college. And to see my kids graduating from college and now get to see my granddaughter graduate from college. And we've got one that's a sophomore in college, and Ryan. And I mean, we've got so much to look forward to. And just looking at every one of my kids and my grandkids and just saying, these are mine. I mean, how fortunate I am. They're all different. I get really choked up. They're just so different, but they're so loving. We've got the most loving family, and Mom, that starts from you and Dad. I mean, it's just so important. There's so many kids, and you said I was called mom by a lot of kids. They didn't have that at home. I had friends that told us after Dad passed away, they said, your parents were really strict, but we loved them. They cared about you. They
mm,
cared because Mom and Dad were always there. I always try to be there with you guys and listening to you guys. I always listen to hear. I know everything about you kids because I heard. I didn't block it out. I always listen.
Such a good point. And I think that, yes, we were fortunate that that was passed on to us. However, there's lots of women out there that they are the ones that are changing their family dynamics, and they're making a decision to go, I may not have had that growing up, but I'm going to provide that for my kids. And I think about, even, I always say this, Mom, and I feel like Alexa says this, I feel like you say it, Mom, that we went we've all had our challenges and we've gone through
Right.
some really hard things, but yet we look back and we can say, as hard as those things were, we had so much love and we had such a village
Mm-hmm.
that we could withstand it all. We could get through it. We could continue to persevere because we had people to turn to. Like, I
Right.
know as a mom, my, Alexa, I always feel so good knowing that I know she comes to me with a lot of things, that she wants to talk about or she's concerned about or upset about. But well, I know this for a fact. She doesn't come to me with every single thing. But what I do know is that she has women in her life, especially you, Grandma. She's
Right.
got these women that she can go to that I trust, that I'm like, hey, if you can't talk to me, go to Grandma. If you can't talk to me, go to this person. We have that. And
Right.
that is what I'm so grateful for. And I think that's what helps us to have a different lens as well. It kind of broadens our horizons because we're not just hearing one person, we're getting a whole life perspective from different people
Right.
that we can get advice from and things like that. But we're all aligned to where I'm not terrified of, like, oh gosh, what is she going to tell her? And I trust that. And I love that too, because I know she's safe. I know she's
Right.
safe when she comes to talk to you. So such a great point. Such a great point.
And it's such a great relationship.
Mhm.
I never thought I would have such a close relationship with a granddaughter or with any of my grandkids.
Oh yeah,
Right.
like when
You know,
when
where
I
they
tell when I tell my friends even to this day, I'm going over to my Gigi's house. I'm gonna go hang out with Gigi and Grandma, and me and Grandma are gonna go get coffee afterwards so I can update her on all the crazy stuff life has thrown at me. They're like, "What? You're going to your grandma? Your to your grandma's house?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do on my Saturday. That's what I'd rather do right now." But that's how I've always been raised. And also too, just like you said, Mom, is so true. Like if I didn't want to go to you about things just because it's just like growing up as a teenager, sometimes you don't want to talk to your mom.
Right.
I immediately called Grandma and I was like, "Grandma." And I didn't and when we sat down, she was like, "Tell me what's going on." I was like, "I don't really want to," but yet 3 hours later at the coffee shop, poured out my whole being,
yeah.
And then I also too, I think that's also another, like, plus of having all of us so close is that there was ever anything going on and I told Grandma and something, you guys needed to be let know, it would be spread around within a blink of an eye, and it would be better on my behalf, so I didn't have to keep over explaining it, and then both of you guys knew, and we'd all come together. Just, like, little things like that where it's like, thank goodness we're all tied to each other's hips because just in those moments, it is like, I'm so grateful for it, even if just one of you guys hear what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what's special about that too is, being married to Andy. Andy has always said, because his parents, are a little bit older than my parents, closer actually to my grandparents' age. He has always said the thing that's so cool about your mom and your grandma that just amazes me is that they're still so relevant. Like, you can still go and talk to Gigi about the latest movie that was on. You can talk to
Gigi,
her
you update
about
me
pop
more about
culture.
things.
And
Gigi updates me more about the news about what's going on than
right.
I don't. I'm like, I see her and she's like, "Did you hear about this?" I'm like, "No, I didn't." This is the first I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, I think that going to back to being relevant is it's so cool because even though you offer us this, you know, this perspective from generations and generations that we did not get to live through that you get to share with us. And you do have some, your values and your ethics definitely come from your past and your growing up, Gigi. But at the same time, I also feel like you have stayed relevant, and Grandma Jan is super relevant in what she talks about and shares with the kids. So, Ryan, my other kiddo, can go over to Gigi's and they will watch movies together. They will play Monopoly together. They play all the games together. And again, people are like, you're going to your great grandma's? Because no offense, grandma, but going to your parents' house, going to my great grandparents' house was not fun for me. But yet my mom was super close to her grandparents and did everything with them. But by the time they had aged and got into their 80s, they were not as relevant with kids. They weren't, and again, I think that has to do with technology. Those are the pluses of the technology. Those are the upsides. I know there's lots of downsides when it comes to certain technology, but the upside is that we do get to, there's so much more with communication and being able to talk on the phone. And even, think about during the pandemic, like we all weren't able to see each other. There were people all over the country, and we were able to do Zoom calls together as a family and still stay connected. We weren't able to do that, years and years ago, right? So I am grateful for that. I'm grateful that you can have those relationships, Grandma Jan, and be able to talk to your kids and grandkids and have those, just having those influences on them, because that's really what you have.
And it helps to make us feel younger too.
Exactly. Well, and then that brings me to this, Mom. What do you feel like has been the most challenging part of being a mom? But then on the other hand, what's been the best thing about being mom? So I'll let you answer both. And you can even talk about being a grandma, the challenging parts of grandma, and then the best parts of grandma.
Well, I think for me, I was a single working mom the majority of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I felt bad about that I wasn't providing enough to you kids. It took me for you, well, actually, when you graduated from college, to realize that that didn't matter. The money part of it didn't matter because like I said, I don't have, and I tell the grandkids this, I don't have the money like other people do. However, I have a lot of love. And that's what I would rather give you. And that's what you told me, Noelle, when you graduated, because I wasn't able to put you through school. You did it all on your own. And I'm so proud of you for that. Both you kids have always done everything on your own. So when you walked across the stage, like you said, you deserved it. And you did. And you did it all on your own with us to back you. We were there with all the love.
Yeah. No, for sure. And then what do you feel like as a grandma is the most challenging part in this day and age? And then what's the best part of being a grandma?
The challenging part to be a grandmother?
Oh, so there is none.
None.
Not one.
That's the
With
best.
me, being a grandma, to me, there's not one.
No.
Love
That's
that.
what's so great about having grandkids, because see, with kids, you have to do all this discipline, and you have to do this and that with them. With the grandkids, I don't have to do that discipline. I don't have that stress of raising the kids.
Just
I
spoil
have
them and
fun
send them
with them.
home.
You betcha. That's so true. And there's
I,
nothing wrong with that.
I think you've only yelled at me once, and it scarred me for life.
I know.
And it wasn't even a yell. It was just, I think it was just my name and really like harsh tone.
I
Because
raised my voice a little bit to you.
a little bit. And I sat in the corner and cried because I was like, I've never made grandma upset, but I was stunned. I was like, never again. Because after that, I felt like a friendship broke. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I've lost my best friend. She's upset with me.
And it
I
was
think
such a minor thing, which is
it,
hysterical.
I think I stubbed your toe. I literally think I stubbed your toe and something happened. And I was like, oh no,
Yeah,
oh no.
mother, you started laughing. You were
Yeah.
laughing.
She was laughing at
Oh,
me when I got hurt
oh,
over
that
My
was
my
mean.
mother.
toe.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, and then Grandma Jan, my mom, raised her voice a little bit at Alexa, and
First
it
and
sent
last time. And it wasn't even a raise. It was
Well, it
just
was
like,
because I was panicking about
yes.
mom being hurt.
Oh, yes, we have lots of stories like that we can share, which brings me to Alexa. I want to ask you, just because we're talking about Gigi and Grandma Jan, what what are your favorite memories of each of us? What is a favorite memory that you have?
There's like so many core ones. I mean, I just like also like for Gigi, the first thing that comes up is when I got the aloe from you. That's my first core memory of you specifically, of the house, everything. Because I was like, I was just thinking about it earlier too, like looking at the questions. That is like my first memory, which is like, thank God for you, Gigi, and thank God for that aloe plant. And also like Mexican trains at the trailer, like that's also another thing too, like being at the trailer with you every summer is still to this day like a core thing for like that's why I'm so excited for you to come this summer. Even like there's so many things like that revolve around the beach that remind me of you, Grandma, which I love. And playing outside like with the dominoes and the Yahtzee and the Mexican trains, baking religiously every single Christmas. Because
Peach pie.
yes, peach pie. Also chucking all the corns in the living room, watching Young and the Restless while we chuck corns for summer barbecue.
Oh,
All the
yes.
fourth, all the 4th of July, all the decorations that you make me do. And it's not make. I'm so glad to do it, but it's definitely not up my alley. Like you and Mama have such a weird thing with Christmas, like bonkers crazy. And me and Grandma are standing aside like, oh gosh, here it goes again. But I love to do it. I
Well,
love
where do
to do
we
it.
spend Christmas? Either at Gigi's house or your mom's house.
Right?
You won't be
Right?
here.
Yeah, so Gigi, I feel like just like all the games that I like, just like all the games that we've played outside the trailer, like all the times we've been at the trailer, baking together, all the movies we've gone to, like I don't think I've ever gone to an afternoon movie without you. Like that was the every time I've
All the
seen a movie with you,
matinees.
all the matinees, all the free popcorn, and then, like, also too, Grandma Jan, like, I mean, you were the other person that raised me. I mean, we lived with you, and that was, and it's even, I think you said too earlier, Mom, like, looking back at like hard times, they were hard times, but now that I'm older, it's almost all flushed away because Grandma Jan and Gigi were like there, and you were there, and Grandma Jan, like, I mean, oh my goodness, the list can go on and on with how many things we relate to. I swear to goodness. I just text you and I'm like, I'm babbling to you like you're one of my closest friends because it's exactly how I think of you. I really, you're my grandma, but at the end of the day, you're like one of my best friends that I love and I could talk to you for hours for. And also too, you bring such peace. I know sometimes you're like,
Oh,
I just feel like I'm a stress ball. And I'm like, not to me, I'll come over and I'll sit next to you and it decompresses me. So even just, that's like the two
Sweet.
biggest things about you guys that I love. You guys are definitely like home, like complete home, just like Mom. Whenever I feel like if I'm homesick or if I feel weird, especially because I've been out of the house for 4 years now, I immediately text Mom. She's like, why don't you call Grandma or Gigi? Just that's all she says to me. She's like, why don't you call Grandma or Gigi? And I'm like, and I do that and I feel better. So I'm like,
Well,
okay.
good. That's the
Hmm.
way it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely the way that I love, and I love that we all have that together for sure. And then also Gigi, going back to you, hearing all of this, now you've heard all of these things. What do you feel like are the lessons or the wisdom that you'd like to pass down to future generations of women in our family?
well, I guess I would say to be yourself. to love yourself, to live life to the fullest,
Mm.
be kind to others. I think that would be my words of wisdom to people.
I love that. I love that. And then, Mom, going back to you, just because I have just a few more questions that kind of goes along with what Gigi just said. What advice would you give to young women today about navigating life's challenges and embracing their strengths?
Well, I think you need to surround yourself with good people,
Mm,
good girlfriends, especially. Um, One thing I've always told you and Alexa and the other grandkids, you can do whatever you want. Whatever you put your mind to, you can do whatever you want. I mean,
mm,
the sky's the limit. And then focus on what you want to be. Don't Not what other people want you to be.
that's good. What do you
Yeah.
mean? Like, tell me more about that. What do you mean?
Here she is finishing college, and
Hmm.
now she's got to decide what she's going to do in life. Well, we can all sit here and give her all kinds of advice. Here, you should do this, you should do that. But Alexa needs, I mean, we can give her these suggestions, but it's
Hmm.
got to be up to Alexa, I mean, in her heart, what she wants to do,
Yeah.
not what we want for her.
And
You
I honestly,
do
I
that.
think that's why you guys all say like, "Oh, I'm free spirited," and I'm that. It's literally only just because you guys have not allowed me to be. That's not the right wording, but in a way, you have let me step into this space my whole entire
Well,
life
you're
where it's like,
right,
do whatever your heart desires, and if you do step into it and it doesn't feel right, okay, you're human. Let's do it again.
right.
Go somewhere else.
Yeah, we get
And
redos in life. Like,
Oh,
that's what I love. We get redos. And now I say that with, as we live our lives out, we don't get to redo everything, right? But there's forgiveness and there's grace and there's things that I believe that we as a family really embody, embrace, and we do allow each other to make mistakes because we
right,
do realize we are human. Like, we don't we don't have other experiences like we've heard in other families, thank goodness, because there are families that they don't embrace lots of grace, and it's one way. And I feel like we have always been really good about, it might be hard because I feel like all of us as women, I can look at all four of us and go, we all have so much empathy for people that when one of us is going through something hard, the rest of us are all calling each other or texting each other. We're like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And we're not even the one going through it, but we're like living it through you. And
mhm,
we've had to learn. And I think that's something to be told too, is that part of our journey has had to be how to be individuals without taking on all of each other's stuff, because it is consuming and it adds more stress to our lives because we are so bonded that we've had to go, okay, like, especially like Alexa, I'm thinking about you, and I know my mom says this about me, and I know grandma says this about Grandma Jan, of like stepping away and being like, okay, we have to let them go through that. We have to
right.
let them make those mistakes and learn through them. And I think that's what's been so cool about what I've seen, because I've heard lots of stories about Grandma and Gigi growing up. They definitely, it was a different time, number one. And number two, they had different perspectives. Like, think about that. That was like during the time of Woodstock, and like just this whole, that was when women were really like expressing their freedoms. And Grandma Gigi, I know you experienced some of that after like World War II and things like that. But what's interesting is that although you were strict, like Mom says, going back to that, and you had a different perspective, you may have been more strict, you may have been more tough in a way, but yet at the same time, there was never any doubt that we weren't loved, and I think that's the difference, is that when you feel loved, even when your parents are strict or, don't let us do something, like, you still know that you're loved. There's just something different about that.
You want to be protective of your children because
Mhm.
you want the best for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, it's like we want the best for our kids, and it's not always what we think it's supposed to be. And that's what changes too. I mean, that's been probably the hardest thing for me as a mom, is that I've had to have a lot of acceptance as well, and just know that, like, we get to borrow our kids, like, God gives us these children to raise, but once they become adults and they start making their own decisions, you just hope that everything you've instilled in them is how they live out their life, but it's not going to be perfect, and there's going to be those bumps in the road for sure. So that part's but grandma, going to you, Gigi, this just was something that I thought of right now, looking at, because you're the matriarch, you're here, and we're all underneath your umbrella. What do you see parts of yourself in us, and then what might be something unique that you get to see in any of us that is different than you, but that you appreciate?
Well, I see a little bit of myself in each one of you.
Mhm.
Um, you're more outgoing and you like to speak. When I was young, I could do it.
Mhm.
As you get older, you lose your vocabulary and along with a lot of other things.
Uh-huh.
Jan and I sort of butted heads when she was a teenager. I was strict with her, but because I loved her, I was strict.
Mhm.
But a lot of the kids don't understand that. They think I'm strict. Oh, mom doesn't love me. But that's not what it was. We just wanted to protect him.
Mhm.
Alexa, I can see a lot in you. I love to study. I love school, and I see that in you. But I see the love in each one of you.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
The tears. But you know what, grandma? One thing that I love too, Gigi, is that you and mom kind of butt heads growing up, but you guys have become like best
Oh
friends
yeah,
Oh
we're
yeah.
like best friends.
in this season of life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We do everything together.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's so cool, is it just comes full circle, that, yeah, there may have been some, tension, but that's part of life. Like, going through this journey, you can look back and see things hindsight. And I bet mom can say, gosh, I was so mad when she did this, but now she can go, okay, well, I can kind of understand why that happened, and you know what, and let's face it, there's just going to be some things that we have to agree to disagree on. Like, I know Alexa and I are going to have things, that we're just going to have to agree to disagree.
Oh yeah,
And,
always.
right, I mean, that's
Always.
just, yeah, part of the relationships. My
Yeah.
Gigi's
Me
really
and
laughing now.
me and mom are actually the complete opposite, but, like, to our core, like, our morals are all the same, but sometimes when we go about things differently, and I'm like, "Mom, I agree to disagree.
Right. Right.
Agree to
Well,
disagree."
truth be told, before we got onto this podcast today, I was a little concerned, knowing it was Monday after a festival, and she's exhausted from finals and things being due and all of the things, and so she was all excited to do this podcast a week ago, and then this morning she texted me, and oh boy, I was a little worried. I thought, ooh, she's in a mood. And I'm not sure how this is going to be. And it was so funny because Andy immediately said, he's like, honey, as soon as you girls all get together, everything's going to be fine. It's all
I
good.
you
Don't
you
worry
called
about it.
me you called me, and I could tell you were like, "Hey," and I was like, "Hey." You're like, "Are you excited?" I was like, "I'm excited. I'm just, like, graduating a couple days." Like, my brain is boggled, and then the moment 10 minutes into the conversation, I'm like, totally fine.
And see, that's the
I'm
difference
fine.
between a grandmother and a granddaughter and a mom and a daughter. If I would have called you, you would have been all happy. You wouldn't have been,
Totally.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Right? I would be like, "Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you
yeah,
today." Mom calls me, "Yeah, it's like whatever."
Well, and that's funny you should say that too, because that's another thing in life, right? Is that the people that, there's different relationships that you have with different people,
right.
and it's so easy to lash out at your mom and just be like able to show that side of you that you're like, ugh. But then I could get on with Grandma Gigi, same thing. I would never do that with Gigi. I would never,
Yeah.
kind of
Never.
express certain things with her because she's Gigi. So no, this is what I love. I'm gonna just like take it around. Is there anything else that you would love to share about anything? I'll start with Grandma Gigi and then we'll go to Grandma Jan and Alexa. Is there any like last thoughts that you have or anything you would want to say that you feel like is important to listeners, even though this was kind of a show for us to enjoy? I hope that other people can resonate that, and I'll wrap it up at the end, but just that I feel like it's so beautiful to hear women's
Yeah.
stories. But Grandma, what are your last thoughts?
My last words are a little prayer doesn't hurt anything, and I have found that has gotten me through 92 years.
I love
So it's
that.
just a little thing that I feel is important.
I love that, Grandma. So good.
Yeah.
Grandma Jan, Mom.
Um, I think what I'd like to say is anybody that's listening to this that does not have a close relationship with their mother, daughter, granddaughter, call them. They're
Mm,
only here for so long. And when someday you're going to try to call them and they're not going to be here. So try. I think it's just so important. Mom and I, how you and I talk all the time. I live 5 doors down from mom, and if I'm not over there, we're on the phone. She calls, I call. It's like, sorry to bother you again, but we always tell each other everything. I don't know what I'll do when that time happens and I won't be able to call. So it's so important to keep close with your relatives. So close.
yeah. Never take a day for granted. I feel like
No,
that's such a mantra I think that we've all started to live by as we've all aged and gotten older, and just appreciated that there's 4 generations that we get to have. I can't tell you how many times I'll post this on a story or about grandma or about you, mom, and I will get message after message of women saying, "You're so lucky to have your grandma still. You're
right.
so lucky that your mom is still here," because when that doesn't happen, it changes your life. And I do feel very blessed for that. So that's such great advice. And always tell them you love them. I think that's important too. What about you, Alex?
I mean, definitely, I love all of you guys so much, and after talking about this, it just reminds, how much, like, I'm so grateful to have been raised by each of you guys and to have the relationship that I do now. But also too, like, now that I am a freshly new adult-ish, growing into being an adult kinda slash kid, I feel like also too, like, I've learned that it's not you guys aren't just like my mom and my great grandma, my grandma, like, we're all individual humans literally trying to be the best version of ourselves every single day.
Mm,
And not like, especially with you, mom, I think that's why we have such a good relationship now is because you are literally every single day is a new day for you. Like,
mhm,
you didn't plan out, you're like, okay, 5 years from now, this is how I'm going to take care of Alexa, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what, like, you being a mom is fresh every single day. So, like, I wish I had that POV when I was younger because half of our fights would have been so like, I'll figure it out when I'm older. But
mm,
now that I am older, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like we are all just human beings trying to get through this life and love one another and be the greatest that we can be, especially like with us four. So, yeah.
Definitely. And for those of you that are a little bit older, she said POV. That means
Oh,
point of
point
view.
of view.
This is where the age
Point
gap
of view.
happened when she goes, and the POV. And I'm thinking, okay, I know for a fact Grandma has no clue what you're talking about when you say that. So I know our listeners are probably younger listeners are going to be like, oh yeah, I totally got that. But then other women are like,
Point
what?
of view. Point of view.
Point of view. Point of view. All right, guys. Oh my gosh, this has been so fun as we come to the end of this journey. I know we could be on here forever. I'd love to do another episode. Maybe we'll do some one-on-ones with you guys. I just feel like there's so much insight and knowledge and things that we can learn and glean on from other generations of women. I think it's so important, but I'm really filled with this overwhelming sense of gratitude for all of you. You have graced us with your wisdom and your stories today. My grandma, my mom, and my daughter have each taught me. So, what I'd love to say is that you've each taught me invaluable lessons that have shaped who I am and how I navigate the world. From my grandma, I have learned the importance of grace, storytelling, friendship. She has really been a guiding light in my life, and she's encouraged me to always show up as my best self. That's why you hear Alexa say that, because this is a common theme that we talk about all the time, showing up as your best self, as your favorite self. And I just really cherish the moments that we share because it is very, very near and dear to my heart. And then my mom, of course, has been the epitome of bravery and resilience. And she has taught me to face life's challenges head on. And she has reminded me that joy is not found in possessions, but in love and connections that we share with others. She's also shown me the power of strength and the beauty of family bonds. And I know that comes top down from my grandma. And she really has been my best friend as an adult. My daughter, this is where I'm not going to get all sappy either, because I said I'm not crying on this podcast. Alexa, her curiosity and her endless love has taught me how to live in the present moment and embrace life's infinite possibilities. Because I feel like Alexa just has such a way of living her life that I go, gosh, there's so many possibilities out there. And through her eyes, I've learned to appreciate the simple joys and the beauty of a sunset. I definitely see a sunset so differently having her as my daughter, and the different ways that love can manifest. That's something I've learned. So as we wrap up this special episode, even though it's hard, I invite you to reflect on the lessons shared by these amazing women. I want you to just, take a moment to consider the powerful influence of the women in your own life and the lessons that they have imparted on you. Perhaps there is a grandma or a mother figure, a daughter, a mentor who's left a forever mark on your heart. I just encourage you to honor their legacy by embracing their teachings and carrying them forward in your own journey. So whether it's embodying the grace, the resilience, or living in the present moment, let their wisdom guide you as you navigate all of life's twists and turns, because there are going to be those twists and turns. And remember, the greatest gift that we can give to the women who have shaped us is to pay their love forward and their lessons forward, spreading joy and kindness and empowerment. And even, like my grandma said, a prayer every day, wherever you go. So thank you for joining us today. And remember, it's never too late to step into your purpose and create the life of your dreams. So until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and know that the best is yet to come. Thanks for
Yay.
joining me here today. Your presence means the world to me. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider leaving a rating and review, and don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Head to the show notes and let's connect. Rise to Shine Co. is ready to support you in coaching, collaboration, life tips, or even a coffee chat. Until next time, keep shining, my friends.